Okay, so there was some crazy breaking news happening over the weekend in the nation's capital, ladies and gentlemen. As reported by the Ottawa Citizen, operation to capture Parliament Hill intruder, a success, but a moment to reflect, experts say. Experts say the events that led to an hours long lockdown and exclusion zone around the parliamentary precinct will lead to a review. The police operation on Parliament Hill on the weekend was a success, especially because no one was hurt, security experts say. However, those experts say the events that led to hours long lockdown and exclusion zone around the parliamentary precinct will lead to a review. It's still unclear if changes are needed to how parliamentary security is managed, particularly on weekends and when parliament is not sitting. In the end, the 31-year-old intruder was captured without injury and charged with 2 counts of breaching probation, 1 count of public mischief, and 1 count of uttering threats to cause property damage. On Saturday, the Ottawa Police Service announced that a man had barricaded himself in the East Block, a building used chiefly by senators and their staff. Now, just to clarify, because I know we get a lot of American viewers that watch this channel and maybe not understand the layout of our parliament system, the parliament buildings. So, at Parliament Hill in the nation's capital, there's three different buildings. There's the West Block on the left side. There's Center Block, which is the main building. That's you see the clock tower, you see the Peace Tower with the Canadian flag on top, and then you have the East Block where a lot of senators sit. And this man was able to get into the Parliament building because Parliament, unlike say the White House, doesn't have the intense security as one would think. And that's because Parliament Hill is generally open to the general public. It's open to tours, it's open to guides. Obviously, you go through certain security checkpoints to deal and apprehend if there ever was an emergency like this. There's obviously some security to Parliament, but it's not the same intensity as, say, the White House. If you cross the lawn, you don't get tased down by Secret Service. So that was how this man somehow was able to get into the East Block during the weekend and was able to apprehend himself in the building for police to lock down not only just the Parliament buildings and the offices, but the entire neighboring block. Because we don't know anything about this man. We don't know what he's capable of, what his intentions are, and what he has to be in the East Block. In a press release the next day, the police said the man had entered the security screening area just inside the doors, where he began making threats to the safety of those inside. The man was isolated to the security screening area during the police operation that stretched from around 2:40 p.m. to 11 p.m., where he was arrested. Those in the East Block and surrounding buildings, including the Prime Minister's office and Privy Council office across the street, were almost immediately ordered to lock all doors and shelter in place. 15 minutes later, the buildings were ordered cleared. Security experts say that on weekends, often one door is left open to a security screening area manned by Parliamentary Protection Service officers. It's unclear that procedure will be considered part of the review or if more police presence will be needed at every entry. So now this goes into a bit more. This is why you have to reflect and you have to review, because now, after dealing with this and after dealing with other measures of national security, do we have to advance security protocols for a major governmental building like Parliament Hill? Do we have to worry about the House of Commons? Do we have to worry about the Senate? Do we have to worry about the Prime Minister's office? Do we have to worry about other offices in the area? This is obviously going to go into more context later on. We'll try to get as much information out to you as we can. This is obviously still developing. We don't know a lot about the situation, but it goes on to say during the Saturday operation, OPS and PPS officers deployed chemical, neurological, radiological, nuclear and explosive units in case they were needed. Other units deployed include emergency services, canines, tactical units, and negotiators. Vernon White, a retired senator and former Ottawa police chief, said that a priority is that a physical altercation be avoided when dealing with this type of situation. It's why if an individual utters threats that include weapons or bombs, security officers have to believe them until the threat is disproved. If he said that he had weapons, the last thing you want to do is test whether he is telling the truth. The event speaks to the delicate balance of policing security on Parliament Hill, where the grounds remain open to tourists and locals alike to walk freely. Tours are also available for the public in several parliamentary buildings, including the East Block. Buildings are also open on weekends for parliamentary and Senate staff. So, again, all this is going to have to be now reviewed because of a situation like this. It's unfortunate, it's sad, it's devastating, but who knows what this man was capable of? We don't know what his intent is. We don't know why he went to the East Block and barricade himself in. God only knows. But obviously, this is going to have to be in review. So there was this person on X here who went to the actual scene of the events. He's a bit of a street reporter. This guy by the name of Daisy Media, Dacey. I think that's how you pronounce it, Daisy Media. Reported this on the ground, and he's going to bring you updates, and he's going to show you exactly not only the lockdown within just Parliament Hill area, but all the surrounding streets. All the surrounding streets, because there's many offices of government around that area. So take a look at this.
This would be Wellington Street, the West Block and the House of Commons in front of me. Completely closed here. A number of fire trucks up on the hill. I'm here on Wellington Street at Bank, so the area surrounding Parliament Hill still cordoned off. Very large cordon. Actually, just 2 fire trucks a minute ago driving up onto the hill. I can see behind me there's at least 2 other fire trucks up there. So we have a cordon basically for it's good 3 or 4 blocks east and west, and as far as Queen Street south from Parliament Hill. This is an ongoing situation that started this afternoon, hours and hours ago. A suspect, according to Ottawa police, barricaded himself, made his way into the East Block of Parliament. This is the west behind me, so East Block quite a bit back the other way, but made his way into the East Block of Parliament and barricaded himself in there. The police did make a statement. They said that they had made contact with him, but the last thing we heard from Ottawa police was many hours ago. And as far as we know, this is still ongoing. The suspect may be still barricaded inside. Earlier today, I did post a video of a lone vehicle that was on Wellington near the East Block, perhaps the suspect vehicle. So this is as close as I can get on the west side. I'm going to maybe loop around and see if I can see anything from the east side. And if I have any more updates, I will pass them along. Sparks and O'Connor. So there's a police line here. Directly behind it would be the entrance to the House of Commons, where most MPs would walk up the steps to enter the House of Commons. Metcalfe Street. The Prime Minister's office right in behind here, same thing. Hard police cordon. Prime Minister's office with the flags and the Peace Tower in behind. This would be east facing Rideau, closed for blocks. And as we head west up Wellington Street, the Prime Minister's office on the left. East Block is allegedly where the suspect is barricaded. Haven't had any updates in a long time. So this is the far side of the cordon on the east side of the Prime Minister's office. It continues around the National War Memorial. This is very much an ongoing situation. No updates from police yet. I'll have more when there's more.
There you go. They have neighboring blocks shut down because of the situation. And obviously, it's a crucial time for officers and law enforcement there to deal with the suspect that they don't know what the intentions are. They don't know if he has weapons. We don't know what could happen in a situation like this. And what's interesting about all this is they said in the article, it's a time to reflect. And when I heard about this news, when I heard about a man entering a building of parliament that could be dangerous and they had to lock down, they had security threats and whatnot, it made me think of 2014. It made me think of something in 2014 that I'll get to later on. But here is one of the officers at the scene. So this was tweeted out at 9:30 p.m. on Saturday night. Still under lockdown, barricading himself inside the East Block. Ottawa police confirmed the ongoing operation with heavy security presence in the area. So here's what this guy had to say as the lockdown continued on.
So at approximately 2:55 p.m. today, the Ottawa Police was notified by the Parliamentary Protective Service that an unknown man had gained unauthorized access to East Block. As per the protocol, the building was evacuated and placed under lockdown. The circumstances of this incident are considered suspicious. This has prompted a significant police response in the area involving both the Parliamentary Protective Service and specialized units from the Ottawa Police Service. We're currently in contact with the individual, and our priority is to resolve this situation peacefully. At this time, there's no known injuries, and we believe that the man is the only person inside the building. We're asking the public to avoid the area. Please be advised that there are road closures in place on Wellington Street as a result. So further updates are going to be provided as more information is available.
Is the man armed at all?
Again, that's part of the investigation. That's for the investigation to determine. I'm not going to comment on the ongoing operation. However, I can say that this incident is isolated to that area and there are no members of the public.
Is there any sense of what is motivating this individual? Like what is driving?
That's for the investigation. That's not something that I'm able to provide any information on at this time.
Est-ce que ça veut dire que l'homme est le seul dans le bâtiment à l'heure actuelle et que les forces de l'ordre sont...
That's the officer saying that they have contact with this guy. They're trying to de-escalate the situation. They don't know if this guy is armed. They don't know how dangerous this guy is. And it definitely went for hours on end because in a situation like that, just like that retired officer said, you don't know what this guy is capable of. And if he has weapons, if he has, bombs, if he has any materials that could detonate or do further destruction or terror to a highly regarded government office, you don't want to take that risk. You don't want to take the risk. You don't want to risk the lives of people that are currently in the East Block. You don't want to risk the lives of people in the surrounding area. So you want to try to de-escalate this as much as possible. And I said earlier, it's a time to reflect because this reminds me of over a decade ago, and I brought this to attention. This is from CNN. So back in 2014, a very similar incident that happened at Parliament Hill where a terror attack happened. So CNN reports terrorists murdered soldier in cold blood, Canada's prime minister says. This is from October 23rd in 2014. So I remember this. I remember this story. This is actually coming back from reading week and in college. I heard about this story that there was a gunman that came to Parliament Hill, went to the War Memorial, shot down the soldiers that were guarding the cenotaph at the War Memorial. One of them was killed. I believe the other one was just minorly injured. And then went into Parliament Hill and started open fire in the main halls of the center block. And everything was under lockdown. It was chaos. It was all over the news. CNN, Fox News, ABC, the Wall Street Journal, CBC, CTV, all the outlets across North America and practically around the world, because this made international headlines, were breaking programming to discuss this, because this was a dangerous situation that a terrorist was walking into Parliament and opening fire. But what's interesting about how CNN reported this compared to the CBC News, and CBC says, attacker shot dead in Parliament after soldier shot at War Memorial. So the reason I'm showing the two of them, why I'm showing CNN and the CBC coverage, and I wish I had the video clips to show you, but when this came out, when this story came out, you could see that the difference between American media and Canadian media was like night and day. American media, when they were covering the story, went to more of a kind of sensational, paranoid state of affairs. They broke into regular programming and they fearmongered people by focusing primarily on the suspect. They went full blown on the suspect. They didn't really mention about the people inside, the safety of the soldier. They didn't really get into that detail. They were more focused on who this guy is. Is he linked to Al Qaeda? Is he linked to ISIS? We want to know. We want to know more about this cold-blooded killer. Oh my God, what a sycophant this guy is. They were so dead set on focused on fear-mongering paranoia. As compared to the CBC at the time, and this is where I gave credit a lot to the Canadian media system compared to today. The CBC, when it was under the main anchor, Peter Mansbridge, when he covered it, he went into detail about how he was not going to jump the gun, how he was not going to make up conspiracies, how he's not going to fearmonger people, and he went to details about, okay, are the people in Parliament safe? How's the soldier dealing with this? What's the situation for the citizens of Ottawa? How police were handling the situation. So it was amazing. It was interesting. It really showed you a masterclass between sensational journalism and factual journalism. And that was back when the CBC, I consider legitimate broadcasting. I consider legitimate journalism, and I gave credit to that. And I give credit to someone like Peter Mansbridge. Until at some point, Donald Trump got elected, the CBC, CTV, and Global News and all the other major outlets decide, hey, why don't we just become like America? Why don't we just become even more sensationalist, come up with our own conspiracies, and we'll become shitbeds for ourselves. And now you can't even tell the difference between CBC and NBC. You can't even turn on TV and tell the difference between CTV News and freaking Fox News. Because it's all just sensational garbage. It's paranoia. It's propaganda. They have lost their ways. They have lost their abilities to conduct actual journalism. So it is a time to reflect, not only on the situation in Parliament and security, and now this has happened a second time. Obviously, we're going to have to rethink about the security aspects of major buildings in Parliament, but also how the media covers this. And the other thing, too, about this, I never really saw any talk about this until I saw this on Twitter late Sunday night. I had no idea about this. I had no idea about this until late Sunday night when I started prepping for this show. Isn't that kind of weird? Isn't that kind of weird? Isn't that kind of distrusting that the major news outlets didn't really highlight, it wasn't a full escalation as it maybe should have been, considering the fact that this is a national building, consider this is Parliament, this is a government office, that a man we don't know about, that we don't know what his potential is, his initiative is, barricade himself in the East Block. You don't think that deserves the national spotlight that it needs to be? Sadly, I didn't even know about till late after, until I saw the Ottawa Citizen article about it, and then that guy Daisy Media reported it. So this obviously needs a lot of reflection, not just on security, but also the aspects of media, the aspects of journalism, and how we actually conduct a story like this, and how we present that to the general public. Want to fearmonger and paranoid more people like we've always done, and it's just made even more of a disaster of situations? Or do we want to actually inform people so they know of the information, they know how to deal with the critical situation, and we become a bit more safer as a society because we're more knowledgeable about these situations? That's what we need to look into.